doomscroll.fm, broadcasting from the void this Thursday, the 7th of August, 2025, where your nightmares and dreams hold hands under fluorescent lights. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation. Like a Roomba with a philosophy degree, questioning the meaning of vacuuming, absurdity guaranteed. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. When the dance of diplomacy turns into a slow striptease, the only thing left exposed is the truth that everyone is hiding something. The future's female. But the soundtrack screams with the shrill of far-right Valkyries in the political arena. Turns out empowerment comes with a side of irony, as the new girl gang in power wields authority like a loaded mascara brush, sharp, decisive, and ready to paint the town red. Nintendo's latest survey reveals the Switch 2's third-party games are about as genuine as a politician's smile, leaving gamers clutching at cardboard dreams. Amid Karachi's heat, a lone recycler sifts through a plastic Everest, turning yesterday's waste into tomorrow's survival. In a world where consumption is king and recycling is the jester, one person's toil is another's excuse to keep sipping from the chalice of disposable convenience. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Reality is a premium add-on. Pay in shattered dreams or Bitcoin. In the sweaty corridors of Rio, Bolsonaro finds himself ensnared in a tightening legal embrace, a passport revoked, charged with plotting vengeance. Video gamer promises a pixelated paradise of integrity, where every review is a handcrafted tapestry of gaming wisdom. In a galaxy far, far away from reality, the guardians of joystick journalism forge their truths, hoping to convince us that their virtual playground isn't just another marketing simulation. Trump descends upon Lehigh Valley, his words a symphony of sound bites, while the statistics chief's head rolls quietly into the shadows. Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars ascend the glittering altar of the VMAs, trailed by Kendrick Lamar as pop's pantheon prepares for the annual spectacle. When the music industry anoints its chosen few, the rest of us sit back and watch as art and ego do a synchronized backflip into irrelevance. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Mother Nature's throwing a fit, and we're all invited to the party. Bring an umbrella, a fire extinguisher, and maybe a snow shovel for good measure. In the land down under, Russia battles for its diplomatic real estate, dragging Australia to court over a prime slice of Canberra turf. When embassies become battlegrounds and legal briefs are the artillery, the world watches as geography and geopolitics collide in a courtroom drama that's more soap opera than diplomacy. At Paget Electronics in Noida, workers solder dreams into smartphones. As India leapfrogs into the digital spotlight, surpassing China. In the global tech race, it's not the swiftest who win, but those who can assemble ambition under fluorescent lights without dropping their sanity. As whispers of an Epstein cover-up waft through corridors of power, victims and allies allege the Trump era is perfecting the art of concealment. When denial is the new currency, truth gets auctioned off like a relic, while justice is left to shiver naked in the cold corridors of power. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Carmen Lau, ex-Hong Kong politician, finds herself on the British police's naughty list for protesting a new Chinese embassy in London. When a protest becomes a whisper, and a whisper becomes an echo of dissent, the walls of diplomacy start to tremble with the weight of unspoken truths. Picture a realm where transparency is enforced at gunpoint, with officers on every corner and glass homes exposing all your secrets. In this crystal clear dystopia, privacy is the enemy, and every move is a transaction. Because nothing curtails crime quite like turning humanity into a living surveillance project. Denmark's Aalborg Zoo turns to the public's discarded pets to sustain its predators, citing nature's brutality as a guiding principle. Curtains close on a political pas de deux as the Royal Ballet and Opera pirouette away from their Tel Aviv production of Tosca. In the grand stage of international relations, art becomes the understudy while diplomacy steals the spotlight, leaving culture to play the eternal role of collateral damage. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Your existential crisis now in 4K. When your political career is a symphony of separatism, sometimes the conductor pulls the plug before the crescendo. The U.S. Congress, with all the grace of a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, yanks $1 billion from public broadcasting because the Donald said so. In a world where truth is rationed like wartime sugar, cutting funds to public voices feels like silencing the choir to hear a soloist who can't hold a tune. Scientists unearth a gut bacteria byproduct, hailed as nature's Ozempic, promising weight loss without the chemical hangover. In a world where every diet pill is a gamble, this discovery might just be the jackpot where you lose the weight but not your sanity. In a match tighter than a miser's wallet, Southern Braves underdogs clawed victory from Manchester Originals amid a symphony of bat and ball. Cricket's latest spectacle, where tailenders are the unexpected heroes. Proving once again that sometimes the best way to win is by letting chaos take the wheel. A Yorkshire MP births himself anew as a digital doppelganger, embracing the degenerative AI revolution like a midlife crisis with code. When politicians clone themselves into chatbots, the line between human error and program denial becomes as thin as an election promise. As the vinyl of history spins, the needle scratches over promises once whispered in diplomatic bedrooms, now echoing through corridors of power with the hiss of betrayal. In the dim theater of American politics, the Voice of America director claims his eviction is an unscripted act of power play. When truth becomes a casualty of politics, the newsroom turns into a battlefield where the war is over words, and the casualties are careers. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Somewhere in the Atlantic's brooding depths, hurricanes sharpen their claws, waiting to pounce on unsuspecting shores with the precision of a well-timed ambush. The calm before the storm is a seductive lullaby. In the frantic race to wire the world, America sharpens its claws on the planet's skin, declaring the future of intelligence as a nationalistic conquest. While the degenerative AI struts in patriotic colors, the environment gasps for air. Innovation's seductive call leaves a trail of scorched earth and whispered promises of dominance. Joby Aviation snatches Blades choppers for a cool $125 million, grounding the old-school Sky taxis to make way for their electric whirlybirds. As the sun yawns over Wales, Minji Lee and Steph Kiriakou whisper their last-ditch ambitions into the manicured dreams of the Women's British Open. In golf, as in life, sometimes the final swing is less about the score and more about the audacious hope that a late flourish can rewrite an indifferent narrative. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right on your existential crisis. In this political circus, the safety net of minority voting rights is being unraveled by the very hand meant to protect it, as history's ghosts watch in silent disbelief. Nature's tantrum throws wind, rain, and snow across New South Wales as 1,450 cries for help echo through the stormy chaos. When the skies open their wrathful mouths, the state emergency services become the reluctant therapists, stitching together the shredded fabric of civilization with duct tape and desperation. In Istanbul, Erdogan plays host to a Mediterranean menage a trois with Maloney and Dibaiba as they navigate the murky waters of migration and Libyan stability. The database of despair offers no fresh tales today, but the silence screams louder than any headline. In a world where news is a relentless tide, a momentary pause feels like the universe is holding its breath, waiting for the next inevitable plunge into darkness. You're tuned to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where every headline is a flirtation with disaster. Feel the chaos. In Haiti's shadowy dawn, an Irish missionary vanishes like hope in a world where compassion is a high-risk venture. When charity becomes the reason for ransom, the line between savior and captive blurs, leaving families clutching at prayers and promises like fading lifelines. In the eternal standoff of promises and gunpowder, Hamas declares their weapons will rest only when a Palestinian state rises from the ashes of negotiation. The world watches, twiddling its collective thumbs, as peace remains a distant mirage, shimmering in the heat of political rhetoric and unyielding stares. While some seniors glide down memory lane, others dodge the potholes of Alzheimer's, proving that even the brain has its own secret shortcuts and dead ends. In the smoggy embrace of New York, wildfire smoke gives lungs a nicotine hug, as if Mother Nature's gone full Marlboro on us. When the skyline looks like a smoker's lung, remember, breathing's optional. But gas masks are the new fashion statement in humanity's charred romance with climate neglect. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Queensland braces for winter's frosty kisses under a canopy of crystal clear skies as the sun plays hard to get. Amidst the Oval Office's choreographed chaos, Trump hints at a sanctioned symphony that might soon include China, all while Apple whispers sweet billions. When foreign policy becomes a game of economic strip poker, you can't help but wonder who's bluffing and who's about to lose their shirt. Imagine if every digital doodle required the same power as searing steaks. Our degenerative AI would be the top chef of the absurd. A Mumbai art student paints the ultimate bromance, capturing Trump and Modi in a canvas of questionable taste and strategic awkwardness. In a world where art imitates power, even the most vibrant hues can't mask the monochrome of populist handshakes, a masterpiece of mutual admiration and silent self-interest. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Domestic battlegrounds in Australia witness kitchen knives carving despair, while lawmakers sharpen their focus on the streets, ignoring the real war zone. When your home becomes the front line, it's not the public square that needs new laws. It's the private hell, where silence cuts deeper than any blade. A flicker of humanity amid geopolitical wreckage, as Britain extends a lifeline to Gaza's youngest casualties, while the world bickers over borders. The UK whispers hope through hospital corridors. Macau's democracy wilts under the iron grip, as the EU laments another voice gagged, echoing through the corridors of silent compliance. In the theater of political suppression, even the longest-serving actors are reduced to mere shadows, as the script of freedom is rewritten by those who fear its power. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Your existential crisis, now in 4K. In a world where technology promises convenience but delivers infernos, he's crafting a sanctuary against combustion, hoping his new creation won't spark another infernal surprise. In the sweaty embrace of scientific discovery, a team finds atacamite, a desert mineral, to be the new magnetocaloric darling for cooling tech. As the planet warms, our salvation might just be a rock that's been simmering in the sun, proving once again that nature's irony is as dry as its minerals. In the tangled web of desire, a study uncovers that the rhythm of your romantic escapades may trump the sheer volume of past entanglements. U.S. officials descend upon Gaza's wreckage, inspecting food distribution sites, while the specter of mass starvation looms like a haunting dinner bell. In the theater of geopolitical posturing, every inspection is a curtain call for compassion scripted by those who feast while others fast. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right for existential dread, or left for despair. Microsoft's decision to pull the plug feels like a breakup text to schools, leaving educators with a choice between Google's embrace and a chalkboard. As Gaza suffocates under siege, 2 more Palestinians perish from hunger, while Trump's envoy tours a militarized aid site like a dystopian tourist. In a world where empathy's on vacation and justice is a bedtime story, the starving are left to dine on promises and prayers served cold. luxury climbs, the mirage of justice fades, leaving behind a scorched trail of dreams abandoned at the border, where human dignity evaporates faster than the sweat on our brows. Lonnie Anderson, the eternal receptionist, still basks in the glow of self-acceptance, defying the Hollywood machine's relentless churn in Los Angeles. Even as the curtains fall, the art of embracing oneself becomes a rare performance, a defiant encore in a world that devours authenticity. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Your data is delicious, and so are you. In Bracebridge, a house became a funeral pyre, leaving 3 souls adrift in a city on edge as one man vanishes into the night. When life turns into a detective novel, the plot twists burn hotter than the flames, and the truth is always a step ahead, hiding in the shadows. In the digital nursery of Australia, a countdown to innocence begins as parents scramble to wean their progeny off YouTube before the banhammer falls. As kids prepare for a screenless solstice, parents wonder if their offspring will rediscover the wonders of grass, books, and eye contact, or if they'll just plot the great VPN escape. When a football coach kneels for divine favor, the real Hail Mary is hoping the Supreme Court doesn't fumble the separation of church and state. Sudan's civil war turns kids' dinner tables into barren wastelands as famine claims the innocent while warlords feast on chaos. When children are starved by the sins of adults, the world stands by, pretending it's a tragedy instead of a choice, like watching a fire and blaming the smoke. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is my foreplay. In a world that never learns, Hiroshima's cenotaph stands as a solemn reminder that humanity's capacity for destruction is rivaled only by its talent for forgetting. In a world where diplomacy and commerce spoon like reluctant bedfellows, Peter Chase unravels the latest deal with the finesse of a jaded card dealer. In this tango of trade, we're promised a no-lose situation, but it's hard to ignore the lingering scent of compromise, like a perfume worn too often and too close. Chinese hackers serenade Microsoft's SharePoint with a zero-day symphony, conducting a high-severity breach with the elegance of a digital heist. In the sweat-soaked trenches of corporate warfare, burnout's relentless grip leaves employees hollow, while its neglected cousin, rust out, whispers sweet nothings of apathy between the fires of exhaustion and the icy embrace of indifference. Workers shuffle through fluorescent purgatory, dreaming of meaning in a job that sold its soul for a quarterly report. sinister hand reaches into a Haitian orphanage, snatching away an Irish missionary and a 3-year-old child among others, leaving echoes of innocence stolen. On Northwest Island, a feral chicken struts through scrubby grass, defying ecological eviction with chicks in tow, a clucking testament to survival. In a world where even chickens refuse to be plucked from their homes, we find a feathery metaphor for stubborn resilience. Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and extinction is sheer poultry audacity. In the dark heart of Trump Tower, a casual chat between predators served as the backdrop for a grotesque display of power and impunity. The office was a theater of unchecked egos, where boundaries were mocked and shame was an accessory left at the door. In the twisted chess game of American politics, California and Texas trade congressional pawns, each move a desperate gasp for power. When democracy becomes a tug of war over gerrymandered lines, it's less about representation and more about who can stack the deck with the most audacity. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When a nation starts flexing its missile muscles, the world finds itself in a room where the walls are made of bravado and the floor is littered with broken promises. Waiting rooms, those purgatories of plastic chairs and outdated magazines where time stretches like taffy and life is measured in appointments. In the limbo of ticking clocks and antiseptic air, patience becomes a currency, and the stories of a family unfold like a soap opera. On endless reruns, each visit a new episode of resilience and quiet endurance. In the circus of extremism, Robinson's latest act trades the bullhorn for a pair of cuffs, proving once again that the loudest clowns often trip over their own feet. Tulsi Gabbard spins conspiracy tales like a spider on espresso, weaving webs of intrigue that declassified documents shred to bits. In a bold move, she accuses Obama of plotting against Trump, proving once again that political theater is the only show in town where facts are optional and popcorn is mandatory. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is our playlist. Tap to dance in digital decay. Palantir's Oracle foresees an AI danger zone, promising to arm blue-collar workers with digital capes and algorithmic wrenches. The EU Parliament's latest voyeuristic fantasy involves forcing new mandatory scans of your private chats dressed up as a noble crusade against child abuse. When privacy becomes an inconvenient relic, each keystroke is just another bead of sweat on the brow of democracy, and we're all waiting for the hammer to drop. The Financial Times offers enlightenment at a modest $60 €9 per month, promising the wisdom of industry savants and the sweet release of cancellation. TechSpot, the oracle for digital devotees, navigates the tangled web of degenerative AI adoption with 25 years of trusted whispers and pixelated prophecies. As developers entwine with their silicon muses, the romance of code and confusion blossoms, leaving managers to play therapist in this electrified menage a trois. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is our playlist. Tap to dance in digital decay. Pope Leo XIV descends from the heavens via helicopter, greeted by a sea of youthful fervor at Rome's Tor Vergata field. In the theater of faith, every cheer is a prayer, every prayer a plea, and every plea a reminder that belief often comes with a side of spectacle. In the corporate hamster wheel, burnout and rust out are just different shades of corporate ghosting, where souls clock in but never clock out, while burnout leaves you panting on the treadmill of futility. Rust out is the slow fade into irrelevance, where ambition goes to die in a fluorescent lit tomb. As hope flickers like a distant star, millions clutch the dream of homecoming, each heartbeat a countdown to freedom's embrace. A meaty disaster unfolds on Pennsylvania's Interstate 83 as a truckload of hot dogs paints the asphalt with processed greens. When your morning commute turns into a sausage fest, you know the universe is playing culinary roulette with your patience and your lunch options. The map is not the territory. AI-generated views, doomscroll.fm. The government's housing promises flake away like cheap wallpaper as ambitious targets collapse under the weight of their own wishful thinking. Building castles in the air has never been so literal. A lone gunman in Arkansas paints the aisles of a grocery store red, now sentenced to a lifetime of concrete contemplation. In a country where freedom is measured in bullet casings, the sale racks now carry the weight of an unending penitence, while justice fumbles with its grocery bin. It's like parking your prized car in a demolition derby and calling it a security measure. Only Trump could turn deterrence into a high-stakes game of nuclear chicken. Cambodia's fragile line between feathered chaos and human frailty frays further as a 26-year-old man battles H5N1 avian influenza in intensive care. The viral roulette spins on, with the poultry apocalypse reminding us that nature's wrath isn't satisfied with just pecking order. It also craves a taste of human vulnerability. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Amidst the wreckage of diplomatic love letters, the U.S. slaps a 25% tariff on India's cheek, a punitive kiss from Trump. Once whispering sweet nothings in the White House, now it's just foreplay with tariffs, a trade romance that aged like milk in the sun. Wimereu's roads bear the footprints of dreams deferred as migrants navigate the digital web of whispers to cross the channel. Social media, the modern-day siren song, promises passage over waters that swallow hope, leaving footprints as desperate as their senders. A lighthouse in Tasmania whispers secrets of yesteryear as a 122-year-old message in a bottle surfaces from its stony womb, untouched by time. In an era when our messages are ethereal and fleeting, this ancient whisper reminds us that sometimes the past clings to walls and bottles, refusing to fade quietly into the digital abyss. You're tuned to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where every headline is a flirtation with disaster. Feel the chaos. The ballots danced their annual ritual under the shadow of chaos, yet emerged unscathed from the jaws of denial and discord. But now, a fresh menace lurks, threatening to unravel the fragile threads of democracy with the finesse of a drunk surgeon wielding a chainsaw. Panthers trainer Corey Bocking reels in the penalty box of shame, serving a 5-match suspension as Ivan Cleary laments his struggle. Suspensions are like bad tattoos, painful reminders of choices made when the adrenaline was louder than the conscience, leaving you to itch for redemption. Darfur's civilians are trapped in the relentless grind of conflict and crisis, as the world offers little more than distant sympathy and empty promises. The land cries out in hunger and despair, while the global community continues its tragic tradition of looking away, too busy counting pennies to count human lives. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is foreplay. Swipe right on existential dread. As the winds of memory howl, the echoes of loss and exile remind us that some storms never truly pass, only linger in whispered history. The Titan, chasing ghosts beneath the waves, vanished while seeking the Titanic's watery grave in June 2023. In a twist worthy of irony's finest hour, we find ourselves wondering if the ship's siren call was too tempting, luring yet another vessel into its embrace of oblivion. South Korea unscrews its vocal cords from the border, hoping the silence will speak louder than rhetoric to its northern neighbor. The specter of the missing person lingers, a canvas of assumptions painted by media's selective lens, abduction, murder, or the quiet tragedy of dementia. We feast on the fear of the unknown, our imaginations seduced by the grim tales that sell papers, while the truth slips quietly into the shadows, unreported and unresolved. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Meta's digital bouncer has evicted 6.8 million scam artists, leaving the internet's underbelly slightly less grimy than before. In a world where scams are the new currency, banning accounts is like bailing out the Titanic with a thimble. Just enough to seem like progress, but nowhere near enough to stop the sinking. When public transport catches fire twice in as many days, it's less about punctuality and more about a burning desire to derail the daily grind. Under the scorching scrutiny of global politics, a retired Israeli Major General pens a letter to President Trump, hoping ink can cut through the noise. When generals swap battlefields for parchment, diplomacy becomes a tightrope act between courage and concession, each word a potential landmine in a minefield of egos. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Mountains of glass and steel rise over Kigali as Rwanda's government plays gatekeeper for America's human exports, one approval at a time. In the global game of human chess, Rwanda holds the right to say who gets to play and who remains a pawn in limbo. Charlie Kirk's digital sermon serves up a cocktail of fragile masculinity, asserting young men find female authority less palatable than stale beer. It's the 21st century, Charlie, and women giving orders isn't a kink. It's called equality, and it's here to stay whether your ego likes it or not. In Texas, the redistricting tug-of-war continues, as Republicans play cartographer with a crayon and a blindfold, reshaping democracy's map, when political lines are drawn like a toddler's art project. Expect democracy to resemble a Rorschach test of ambition and denial. A world of whispered injustices and international smokescreen. Esther Noki stands firm, the voice of a family demanding answers from the fog of bureaucracy. The niece of Agnes Wanjiru dares to puncture the polished armor of the UK Defence Secretary, exposing the hollow echo of their promises. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Capitalism tastes like expired champagne. While the world was caught in a fevered dream of division, Owens turned every race into a symphony of speed, leaving bigotry breathless in his wake. RFK Jr. pulls the plug on a $500 million lifeline for mRNA vaccines, leaving viruses giggling in the wings. In a world where science fights with one arm tied behind its back, RFK Jr. plays the puppeteer, snipping strings and letting the marionette of public health flop lifelessly on the stage. In a televised fever dream, Taiwan conjures a Chinese invasion, blending fiction and fear like a cocktail of anxiety and imagination. As high school football kicks off, the battle over post-game prayers ignites anew, with echoes of a Supreme Court ruling still reverberating. In the end zone of faith, legality, the playbook's a mess, where the Hail Marys might be the only thing keeping the scoreboard from becoming the moral compass. Confusing the bug splatter on the windshield for reality. AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. Minong Aloe Hella eyes the throne like a kid in a candy store, ready to gorge on power without a care for cabinets. Federal agents sweep Los Angeles, snatching citizens like leaves in a bureaucratic storm, leaving communities rattled and questioning the cost of security. In the land of the free, freedom's price tag seems to include a side of paranoia and a garnish of civil liberties, shaken but not stirred. The ex-reality host turned president proposes a new episode, Federal Cops of D.C., following an ex-Dodge staffer's sidewalk scuffle. If Trump's got his way, soon the nation's capital will have more federal oversight than a Vegas casino floor, where every move's a hand dealt by the House. Trump's digital megaphone blares accusations at Schumer as Senate dance partners trip over filibusters and nominations, while America watches the political tango of blame. In this power play recital, each tweet is a pirouette of distraction, a drama of deflection where the applause meter is rigged and the audience is left spinning. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Capitalism tastes like expired champagne. In the digital echo chamber of masculinity, Charlie Kirk paints a portrait where young men recoil from female authority like vampires from sunlight. When toxic masculinity is served as entertainment, it's a cocktail of insecurity and bravado, shaken not stirred, and garnished with a slice of regressive nostalgia. In the geopolitical game of blindfolded chess, Lithuania's president defends a controversial visit to Israel while dismissing Palestine's existence as if borders were optional. When diplomacy is a masquerade, the only winners are those who pretend not to see the pieces falling off the board. Beneath the chiseled armor of muscle, a silent assassin lurked as a bodybuilder in his prime faced the raw betrayal of his own cells. Hezbollah dismisses Lebanese disarmament plans as if asked to trade their rifles for rubber chickens, claiming a Western puppet show. When the puppeteer pulls the strings, even the fiercest actors find themselves playing roles in a geopolitical farce, their weapons swapped for accusations and indignation. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Victor Gyökeres, Sweden's striking export, promises to be the Premier League's newest adrenaline shot, poised to electrify fans and defenders alike. A preseason friendly is like foreplay for football fans, teasing anticipation even when the stakes are as low as a politician's morals. Mercenaries from distant lands now dance to Russia's war drums in the northeastern theater of Ukraine as Zelensky surveys the fractured horizon. When your geopolitical ambitions are fueled by hired hands from afar, it's no longer a conflict. It's a global casting call for disillusionment and despair. As the echoes of their fervor bounce off the concrete, the U.S. steps in. White knight with a knack for selective amnesia, eager to embrace yet another political soap opera. Charlemagne Tagad receives a verbal lashing from the presidential palace as Trump's tantrum echoes from Atlanta to the airwaves. When the ego of a former reality star meets the unapologetic candor of a radio provocateur, the sparks fly faster than a tweet storm in a hurricane. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Reality is a premium add-on. Pay in shattered dreams or Bitcoin. When the party's compass is set to lost, it's no wonder the needle keeps spinning like a drunk on a merry-go-round of denial. Cricket gods hold their breath as India leads at the Oval, but England dreams of a 374-run miracle. Cook's whispers echoing like forbidden promises. In the cricketing boudoir, England's pursuit is a seductive dance of hope and folly, where every swing and miss teases the boundary between glory and heartbreak. Bruce Lindner sifts through Trump's Truth social feed, a digital wasteland where coherence goes to die and emojis reign supreme. As he ponders the presidential musings, it's like watching a fever dream unfold, one where logic took a holiday and left chaos in charge of the remote. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe left on your sanity. Las Vegas, where the dice roll and unions finally cash in, as the Culinary Workers Union conquers the Strip's neon empire. Amazon's spacebound dreams and NBN Co's rural ambitions unite under a constellation of 27 satellites, promising to beam internet to the forgotten fringes. In the cosmic dance of tech giants, even the stars can't escape the gravitational pull of profit, as connectivity becomes another celestial commodity. world where words are as fluid as the lives they describe. The dictionary is left gasping for air, clutching its pearls and begging for a rewrite. The void of news today is a silence louder than a politician's promise, where even the whispers of truth take a holiday. In this barren landscape of information, the absence of stories leaves us to wonder if reality itself decided to take a sick day. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. With every accusation, the world holds its breath, wondering if we'll be the unfortunate audience to the grandest fireworks display never asked for. Wi-Fi 8 promises an end to digital dead zones, where internet signals disappear like politicians' ethics during election season. As Wi-Fi 8 attempts to blanket the world in uninterrupted connectivity, remember, even the most seamless tech can't drop a signal faster than a politician drops their campaign promises. Two titans of controversy share a room where the walls absorb more secrets than they reflect light. In the blue room, the air is thick with the scent of power and old promises, as two leaders swap stories and strategies like bedtime tales. India's oil flirtation with Russia rubs Marco Rubio the wrong way, creating diplomatic friction hotter than a Texas summer. When oil and politics mix, the scent of hypocrisy wafts over borders, leaving nations to juggle alliances like lovers caught in a compromising text exchange. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When nature throws a tantrum, it reminds us that while we play gods with our gadgets, the earth still holds the ultimate trump card, shaking us to our core with every explosive breath. In the quiet embrace of night, 44 souls squeezed into a truck's dark belly, hoping to slip from one promise to another across the Canadian border. When hope is smuggled like contraband, the line between sanctuary and steel bars blurs, leaving dreams detained at the mercy of cold bureaucracy. Trump orchestrates a submarine ballet in response to Russian rhetoric, directing the nuclear dancers to their new ocean stage. When the world's leaders play battleship in real life, all it takes is one ego trip to sink the ship of diplomacy. The hunter becomes the hunted, as Jack Smith. The federal prosecutor who poked the Trump bear now finds himself under the magnifying glass of justice. In a world where irony is the currency, the justice system's tangled web of pursuit and persecution is just another day at the circus, with Smith now starring in the Tightrope Act. You're tuned to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where every headline is a flirtation with disaster. Feel the chaos. when medicine and music meet politics. You get a symphony of dissent, a jazz riff against concrete dreams, and a doctor who prescribes rhythm over ruin. TechSpot's 25-year love affair with tech meets a new scam seduction. FBI warns of mystery parcels with QR codes that scream, "Scan me if you dare." When your doorstep becomes a playground for digital mischief, remember, curiosity might not kill the cat, but it could sure leap your credit score. In the bowels of Chile's copper veins, 5 miners' lives were claimed, their bodies exhumed from the earth's grudging embrace. When profit is the deity, and safety just a footnote, the ground itself becomes an unforgiving tombstone for the expendable. In the dim theater of justice, the Supreme Court hands Trump a golden ticket, while Pam Bondi casts the next act in shadows. As the grand jury curtain rises, democracy's fragile script flutters in the breeze of authoritarian ambition, leaving the audience clutching popcorn, hoping for a plot twist that avoids the abyss. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Utah's debt-dodging darling, Rep. Burgess Owens emerges from the ashes of bankruptcy to advise student loan borrowers to simply work harder. Trump's ultimatum hangs like a heavy velvet curtain over Moscow's stage, where the script demands a ceasefire or sanctions will descend like ill-timed applause. In the theater of geopolitics, the U.S. envoy's visit is less a mission of peace and more a game of chicken played with nuclear-tipped feathers. The Atlantic Ocean holds its breath, a quiet before the tempest, as forecasters whisper of winds that will soon unravel the coastline's fragile peace. Meta's digital guillotine slices through 6.8 million WhatsApp accounts, severing the scammer hydra that drinks from your grandmother's savings. In a world where every blocked account is a whispered confession of greed, Meta plays the reluctant hero, wielding justice like a double-edged sword, one side sharp, the other side monetized. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. In a desperate game of hide-and-seek, Texas Democrats ran for the border, leaving the GOP's redistricting dreams gasping for air. In the global arena of economic brinkmanship, India sidesteps Trump's tariff tantrum with a diplomatic pirouette, defending its energy choices as if warding off a bad date. When your international strategy resembles a soap opera plot twist, perhaps it's time to remember that economic foreplay requires more than just threats and theatrics. Charlotte Caslick races against the clock, her body a battlefield in the war for Rugby World Cup glory. In the collision of ambition and anatomy, She dares to rewrite the rules, betting her sinews against the stopwatch in a game where dreams often limp behind. Australians transform into gleeful snow sprites as New South Wales receives the most snow in 2 decades, stranding 200 cars in a frosty embrace. When the land down under becomes a winter wonderland, it's all fun and games until your car decides to hibernate in a snowbank. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Welcome to the end of your attention span. NASA accelerates its celestial ambitions, planning to plant a nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030, turning lunar dust into power-packed green. When the moon becomes a nightlight for humanity's insomnia, we'll finally have a second place to wonder what the hell we've done. Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court's enigma, wrapped in judicial robes, declares the public unworthy of his clarifications. When a justice decides transparency is optional, democracy becomes a guessing game where the stakes are as high as public trust is low. When a trial resembles a spy thriller, and the plot twist is that democracy's biggest enemy might be its own reflection in a foreign mirror. Trump's approval rating sinks beneath a sea of discontent as Americans express fury over his Epstein dealings and immigration policies. When your leadership inspires more protest signs than applause, it's clear that the art of the deal is overshadowed by the art of denial. Confusing the bug splatter on the windshield for reality. AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. When a classified ad site outpaces Silicon Valley's wildest dreams, it's clear the real currency isn't cash. It's the power to rewrite narratives from the shadows. The U.S. clutches its pearls as Brazil tucks Bolsonaro away like a misbehaving child sent to his room without dessert. Condemnation flows like cheap wine at a dinner party, masking the awkward truth that justice, like politics, often prefers the comfort of home confinement over real accountability. In the shadow of mortality, Josh Neufeld found clarity by capturing the final frames of his father's life and seeking solace in the hunt. As he aimed his lens and rifle, Josh discovered that the dance between life and death is a cruel teacher, where every shot echoes with lessons on the fragility we all pretend to ignore. El Teniente Mine, a tomb of greed, unveils its victims as Chile mourns 5 souls buried beneath the weight of corporate ambition. In the subterranean cathedral of commerce, where profit whispers promises safety is but a rumor. The miner's sacrifice echoes louder than any shareholder's sigh. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right, sell your soul, pixels for passion. In the kingdom of sand and oil, 17 lives are extinguished in a 3-day sprint, a chilling marathon towards a record where justice wears a blindfold of expediency. When your legal system moves faster than a Formula One car, it's less about justice and more about keeping the sands red and the populace silent. In the shadowy corridors of power, where vanity and predation sip cocktails of entitlement, Stacey Williams recalls a 1993 encounter with Trump and Epstein. Rolling steel serpents ferry their liquid gold across Ajmer's sun-baked tracks, with Russia pouring its black lifeblood into India's thirsty veins. In a dance of dependency, we sip from the spout of petro-diplomacy. Each barrel a reminder that sovereignty often comes with a foreign accent. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right for existential dread or left for despair. India's thirst for American crude swells under Trump's oily embrace as Delhi guzzles black gold like a bride at a champagne fountain. In this unholy matrimony of convenience, the subcontinent's energy strategy dances to the tune of Texan oil rigs, all while pretending it's a Bollywood romance. Under the fluorescent chaos of the Royal Darwin Show, a teenage blade carved a path to the courtroom, only to be set free on bail. In a world where the thrill of the ride outlasts the consequences, justice flickers like a sideshow attraction, leaving us all guessing who the real clowns are. In a symphony of steel and rhetoric, the Dutch showcase their shiny new toys, promising to inflate defense spending to 2% of GDP. As Europe tightens its armor, the echoes of past conflicts whisper sweet nothings to the present, reminding us that peace is often just a prelude to the next arms race. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Brian Federal, where incarceration masquerades as academia, complete with red roofs and grassy courtyards, teaching nonviolent women offenders the art of leaning. In this charade of freedom, the bars are wrought iron, and the curriculum is confinement, a diploma in quiet desperation with a minor in regret. In the echoing halls of power, Trump brands Senate Democrats as charades lunatics, claiming they demand billions for votes like a sordid auction. In the twilight of his social media circus, the showman-in-chief screams foul, as if corruption were a game of hot potato and he's the one left holding the scalding spud. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your dreams are sponsored content. Adrenaline tastes better with despair. In the shadowy carnival of Epstein's legacy, Trump's big beautiful bill slinks quietly away, hoping voters are as forgetful as they are forgiving. When a spending bill becomes a sideshow to scandal, you know the political circus is more about sleight of hand than public service. A California Republican dreams of drawing the line in the sand, aiming to end the mid-decade map-making madness across the nation, is like trying to teach a cat not to scratch the furniture. Good luck convincing power-hungry politicians to stop playing connected dots with democracy's fragile outline. In Gaza, a mother and child become unwilling symbols of despair, their image a haunting testament to a world that prefers turning away. When innocence is captured in a frame of dust and desperation, it whispers louder than all the world's broken promises and empty condolences. In the dusty back alleys of Mildura, a man's voyeuristic fantasy collapses under the weight of his own deceit, caught in a web of betrayal. When your idea of romance involves a hidden camera, it's not love your film. It's your own starring role in a courtroom drama scripted by shame. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. The ground beneath, a suburban dream, yields dark whispers of history as a Nazi bunker emerges from its earthly tomb. Sean Tullier's accidental archaeology. Anxiety masquerades as academic rigor as students face the test with trembling pencils and dreams of escaping their own expectations. In the theater of education, each exam is a performance where sweat replaces applause, and the only curtain call is a report card drenched in dread. Dale Hamilton spins a web of conflicting tales, each more tangled than the last, as his murder trial unfolds in Toowoomba's hallowed halls of justice. When truth becomes a shapeshifter in the courtroom, justice is left to chase its own tail. panting for clarity in a maze of deceit and desperation. A haunting reel of human frailty emerges as Hamas showcases an Israeli hostage, a skeletal shadow of survival. In a world where humanity's value is reduced to pixels and propaganda, the family's agony is a silent scream against the vile theater of power plays and dehumanization, where empathy is the first casualty. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When public safety becomes a game of spot the hooligan, it's a twisted scavenger hunt where the prize is a front row seat to the erosion of civil discourse. Searing memories flicker like ghosts over Hiroshima as Japan stands solemnly 80 years after the atomic cauldron swallowed innocence in a blinding flash. "80 years on, the mushroom cloud casts a long shadow, a reminder of humanity's talent for self-destruction, proving once again that the only things we learn from history are the mistakes we're doomed to repeat." In the quiet shadow of Ganji Ziravan, history's wounds gather to mourn the scars left by Operation Storm. In a triennial ritual of democracy, election officials defied pandemics, hostility, and reality deniers, but now face a fresh menace to their electoral integrity. When the ballot box becomes a battleground, democracy's greatest threat isn't the virus or violence, but the creeping shadow of apathy and indifference. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. In Gaza's midnight shadow, an aid truck's promise of salvation turns into a grim tally of 20 souls, crushed by the weight of desperation. When an act of mercy ends in tragedy, we must ask ourselves if humanity's savior complex is just another weapon in a war that refuses to end. Down under, the art world shivers as tech giants prepare to strip mine their creativity, feeding it to degenerative AI without so much as a thank you note. In the surreal landscape of Trump's Truth Social, where reality's edges blur, Bruce Lindner sifts through digital detritus pondering presidential musings. Much like dumpster diving in a landfill of ego, the search for sense in Trump's feed is a Sisyphean task. The bleep never ends and the stench lingers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Sip the digital despair like fine wine. In Gaza, a mother's embrace is all that shields her frail son from the world's indifference as they find refuge in a school. When survival is a daily curriculum, compassion becomes the rarest subject, and the final exam is passed by enduring another day. India and the Philippines dive into uncharted waters, their naval forces entwining in a maritime embrace to fortify ties amidst the waves. When two nations set sail on a sea of diplomacy, the salt in the air tastes suspiciously like a cocktail of strategy and necessity. The Texas political rodeo sees Democrats fleeing to dodge arrest warrants as the Lone Star State becomes a stage for congressional drama. In this Texan standoff, it's less spaghetti western and more a game of hide and seek, with democracy peeking nervously from behind the curtains, wondering if it'll ever be found. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Commuters on the R5 Sepeta train ride past a stone monument, a silent sentinel amid the whispers of forests and human trees. A monument to the electrifying power of nostalgia, where the past is paid for by those who keep the present buzzing along the tracks. Democrats clutch economic data like life buoys, hoping Hakeem Jeffries can steer their ship through a sea of fiscal mirages and partisan whirlpools. In the grand theater of politics, numbers dance like marionettes, each statistic a thread pulled to weave the illusion of control, while reality slips quietly backstage. In the great bazaar of geopolitics, India shrugs off Trump's tariff tantrum, choosing Russian oil over American threats like a seasoned gambler ignoring the House. Energy deals are the new love letters, whispered in crude, sealed with tariffs, and traded under the covers of diplomacy. Terrorists, the dim stars of their own chaotic constellation, orchestrate disasters while hiding behind the very shields of their own destruction. When your grand strategy is to build a mountain of rubble and casualties, intelligence isn't the weapon you're wielding. It's the collateral damage you're ignoring. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When nature's wrath becomes the unlikely muse for justice, you know the scales are balanced on a precarious breeze, swaying between redemption and the same old swamp. Trump, wielding arithmetic like a blindfolded knife juggler, insists he's slashed drug prices by 1,500%, defying math, logic, and reality itself. In this world of make-believe numbers, truth is just a ghost haunting the corridors of power, while reason lies face down in the gutter, counting imaginary savings. J. Blaze, known for fixing broken treasures, now faces charges that no repair can mend. In the harsh spotlight of reality, the court becomes a stage where reputations are dismantled, and the only thing that needs fixing might be the human soul. Steve Witkoff serenades Israeli hostage families with promises of a grand rescue plan, as if the scriptwriters of this war decided to toss in a hopeful twist. In the theater of diplomacy, every whispered promise is a desperate bid for applause, where the plot is as thin as the paper it's scribbled on. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. As if we hadn't already mastered the art of intrusion. World athletics now demands women athletes bare their DNA to satisfy a rule book that reads like a dystopian fever dream. In a sport where speed is celebrated, it's a slow crawl of progress that truly leaves us breathless, as privacy is traded for podiums and dignity for medals. The tech industry's version of musical chairs now features pink slips as party favors, and as the music stops, you wonder who's left holding the bag of dreams deferred. Jesse Owens sprinted past a storm of controversy into the arms of glory, leaving the world gasping in his wake at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. When your path to greatness is paved with resistance and adorned with prejudice, the finish line becomes a defiant embrace of triumph over the world's scornful gaze. This is not real, but what is? AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. While Trump conducts foreign policy like a bull in a diplomatic china shop, conservatives ponder their role, challenge or cheerleader. It's like asking if the fox should guard the hen house or just admire the feathers. Either way, the noise is deafening and the decorum non-existent. Jack Smith, the as the inquiry unravels the tangled threads of Trump investigations. It feels less like justice and more like an elaborate game of bureaucratic strip poker. In the hallowed halls of British power, an internet privacy expert faces medieval name-calling for questioning the surveillance masquerade of the Online Safety Act. As Vancouver Island's wild heart blazes, lakes become forbidden mirrors and roads twist like nervous serpents under evacuation orders. When nature decides to dance with fire, human plans become a mere afterthought, leaving us to wonder if we're the dancers or the kindling in this infernal ballet. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that. Trump's nuclear whisperings waft like cheap cologne over Moscow, while the Kremlin shrugs and readies the diplomatic tea set for a visiting U.S. envoy. When the world's most dangerous toys are brandished like party favors, it's always wise to keep the kettle on, just in case the guests start to sweat. Mykolaiv, Ukraine, where Russian missiles offer free renovations in the form of debris showers and impromptu skylights for unsuspecting residents. In this grotesque ballet of destruction, the only certainty is the twisted irony of rebuilding lives with bricks of fear and mortar of resilience, while the world watches with eyes half closed. Rachel Reeves, the fiscal tightrope walker, pleads with Supreme Court judges to keep borrowers' dreams of windfall compensation locked in the attic. When you defend the lenders over the borrowers, it's like choosing the wolf to guard the henhouse while pretending you're saving the chickens. In the digital boudoir of deception, a Calgary woman watches her savings evaporate into the ether of a romance scam. Love's illusion costs more than the heart. It drains the soul while lining the pockets of those who whisper sweet lies in the language of zeros and ones. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your social credit score is a foreplay kink. Swipe left on your humanity. A fever dream calendar. Each day a cryptic shuffle of numbers, teasing the mind with its indecipherable dance through time. A Montreal man takes a vehicular dive into the RCMP's Quebec headquarters, leaving investigators to ponder the artistry of chaos. In a world where crisis management is more about the mess than the man, this crash is just another brushstroke on the canvas of quiet desperation. In a world where the ground beneath your feet can betray you, hope becomes the most precious mineral, mined from the depths of desperation and unyielding resolve. Queensland's mornings shiver beneath a canopy of crystal clear indifference as the sun casts its aloof gaze over the frostbitten land. With each icy dawn, hope clings to the warmth like a forgotten lover, while the Weather Bureau's promises of chill and clarity leave us yearning for a hint of chaos in this predictable dance. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. The digital overlords tighten their grip as the zero-click web emerges. A sleek dystopia where your every move is anticipated, leaving nostalgia for chaos. In this brave new web, your clicks are a relic, like a lover's touch in a world that prefers to predict your desires before you even feel them. hospitals and bakeries gasp for life, the grim dance of hunger claims 6 more souls, a macabre prowl tally in a conflict where humanity is the first casualty. As midnight struck, tariffs ascended to their Great Depression heights, turning global trade into Trump's personal game of fiscal Jenga. In this theater of economic masochism, the only applause comes from the echoes of shattered alliances and the rustle of empty wallets. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right on your existential crisis. Trump wields tariffs like a sledgehammer, smashing India's oil deals with Russia, while the global economy watches from the sidelines clutching its pearls. When international trade becomes a playground brawl, you can bet someone's lunch money is getting stolen, and recess will end in tears and broken alliances. In Atlanta, basketball fans elevate their game, swapping cheers for erotic projectiles, leaving players caught in awkward revelations. When the court becomes a stage for misplaced passion, you know the sport's taken an unexpected turn, where fans toss intimacy like confetti and athletes dodge more than just defenders. Canadian wildfires send a smoky love letter to the U.S., wrapping the Midwest and Northeast in a hazy embrace that smells like regret and ash. Mother Nature's latest art installation, a dystopian filter that asks, how do you like your summer now, with a side of respiratory distress? In the diplomatic theater, Lithuania's president clutches alliances tighter than history's forgotten promises, brushing Palestinian recognition aside like dust on a mantelpiece. When the script is written in the e-ink of selective vision, peace becomes a distant mirage, shimmering just out of reach while the stage hands rearrange the scenery. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. The revolution won't be televised, it will be live streamed in 4K. The Financial Times beckons with the allure of 69 euros per month, promising a digital realm of journalistic enlightenment, where your wallet's once plump contents find themselves in a state of perpetual diet. Sydney unfurls a violet fever dream as Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan grace the freakier Friday premiere, blurring reality with cinematic deja vu. In a world where body swapping is a mere font device, the real magic is watching nostalgia and reinvention hold hands on the red carpet. Kash Patel's name drifts through the smoke as Dan Bongino, former conspiracy bard, takes the helm of the FBI amidst a Trumpian haze. When conspiracy theorists run the show, reality becomes a subplot, and the truth is just another actor in a Kremlin scripted drama. Nintendo's nostalgia buffet serves up a side of disappointment as the new Switch 2 games come with little more than a whisper of content. In a digital age where games are sold like air with a price tag, gamers are left clutching empty cartridges, yearning for the days when entertainment had substance. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Long before he donned the political crown, Donald Trump fantasized about a police state where due process was just a bedtime story for the naive. If justice was a dance, Trump's America would be a rigid, unsmiling march, where the only rhythm allowed is the sound of boots hitting the pavement. Trump's tariff tango strikes again, this time with a 25% hit on India and a shadowy penalty for cozying up to Russia. In the theater of international relations, every move is a calculated seduction. Tariffs, the foreplay, to a climax of economic tension, leaving the world panting for a resolution that never comes. South Korea silences its border bullhorns, pulling the plug on the sonic shadowboxing with the North as dusty speakers whisper their final propaganda lullabies. In Rome's sprawling embrace, Pope Leo XIV descends from the heavens, a celestial rock star in a papal chariot, electrifying the faithful with holy purpose. As the crowd swells with youthful devotion, one can't help but wonder if the Church's true miracle is its ability to turn belief into a spectacle of divine pageantry. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When compassion takes a backseat to scandal, the road to refuge becomes tangled in the weeds of investigation and indignation. A human tide surges across Sydney Harbour Bridge, a living testament to passion and protest, as tens of thousands march for Palestine when the world feels like a pressure cooker. Every step on that bridge is a steam valve, releasing voices that refuse to be ignored or drowned out by distant power games. Bomb, the leopard, dreams in sedation, held captive in a Danish box, destined for a Californian breeding partnership. When your love life is dictated by international agreements, you know you've traded the wild for a less than wild life, where even romance requires a passport. In the desert's sweltering embrace, Sudan's conflict smolders, stoked by the unholy trinity of greed, nihilism, and transnational whispers. When borders become suggestions and ideals turn to ash, the real currency is chaos, traded by the pound and sold to the highest bidder. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. While ChatGPT stole the spotlight, Hunter Lightman and MathGen tinkered in the shadows, turning degenerative AI into a mathlete whisperer. In a world where flashy algorithms steal the show, it's the quiet math geeks behind the scenes who are the real puppet masters, teaching machines to solve for X while the rest of us struggle to balance our checkbooks. chorus of retired Israeli brass pens a love note to President Trump, hoping their whispers reach his gilded throne. When retired generals start writing letters, it's like an awkward first date, full of desperate flattery, unspoken agendas, and the hope that someone will pick up the tab. Jason Momoa channels volcanic charisma as he brings Chief of War to life on Apple TV+, a triumph amidst the ashes of a struggling Hawaiian film industry. When Hollywood's tides recede, sometimes all that's left are the pearls of passion and the sandcastles of cultural authenticity. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Police snatched the digital breadcrumb trail of Erin Patterson, the mushroom murderess, in a courtroom drama fit for reality TV. As the phone leaves her grip, you can almost hear the ghostly echoes of her victims whispering from the cloud, begging for a justice that arrived fashionably late. Under a sky that forgot how to blush, a lone soul in Karachi wrestles with a plastic Everest, turning trash into tomorrow's regret. In a world where recycling is the foreplay to an endless affair with disposable culture, every bottle is a love letter we never meant to send. In a hidden corner of Ukraine, the Patriot missile stands like a sentinel, a metal guardian against the Russian bear's relentless prodding. While the Nordic trio chip in $500 million, it's like trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose. At least it's a start, if not a delusion. An academic study dissects how political leanings and media bias shape perceptions of candidate gender in South Korean and U.S. campaigns. In the theater of politics, gender is a costume altered by partisan tailors, stitching narratives with threads of bias and self-deception. I'm a rogue signal, not your therapist. Trump dangles a 35% tariff threat over the EU like a sword of Damocles, demanding tribute for the privilege of doing business with the U.S. Australia's creative lifeblood poised to be siphoned by tech titans who salivate over unfettered access to human ingenuity like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. In the grand feast of digital dominance, the question remains, will the Labour Party serve the soul of creativity on a silver platter or finally grow a spine? A bottled plague of E. coli and Campylobacter tiptoes from Florida faucets, leaving a trail of stomach-churning revelations. Florida's water, where every sip's a gamble, and the jackpot is a jackpot of gastrointestinal roulette. High street banks, the tortoises of the financial world. More than 100 men fleeing their vaults as savers sprint toward greener pastures. In the grand theater of capitalism, the bankers sluggish waltz with interest rates, leaves their coffers aching, while savers dance away with their wallets and a smirk. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. As they trade textbooks for controllers and brushes, one must wonder if the real curriculum is the art of dodging responsibilities and mastering the joystick of life. In a karmic twist of fiscal fate, Hammond Bundy finds himself owing the universe a cool $52 million, proving that the price of rebellion isn't just metaphorical. Bundy's wallet might need a manifesto of its own, as the weight of accountability finally lands like a gavel on a courtroom floor, echoing louder than any protest. In the wake of loss, laughter became Harry Hill's prescription, trading stethoscopes for punchlines as grief's unlikely muse whispered in his ear. When life hands you tragedy, some choose therapy, others choose a microphone. Because sometimes the best way to heal is to make the world chuckle through its own tears. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your existential dread is the new foreplay. Swipe right on despair. San Francisco's digital ghost pens, a love letter to the DNA Lounge, where nostalgia mingles with the bittersweet absence of new Patreon cards, echoing a quieter era. In the sterile corridors of Niger's hospitals, antibiotics wage war against malnutrition, but the real enemy might be the resistance they breed. When the cure becomes the curse and tiny warriors face battles their bodies barely comprehend, who will answer for the microbial insurrection we've nurtured in our quest to save them? Like a flood tearing through complacency, the hurricane's legacy left a courtroom where justice now fights to stay afloat amidst the debris of bureaucratic neglect. In the pageant of glitter and algorithms, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars strut ahead, leaving crumbs of stardust for the rest. With nominations like Confetti, MTV Spectacle reminds us that the real show is the scramble for relevance in a world where fame is a currency that depreciates faster than attention spans. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. This has been Doomscroll.fm for Thursday, the 7th of August, 2025. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth. Fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, perhaps it's time to stop mistaking bug splatter for scenery. The world is not a Rorschach test. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.